In the vast landscapes of New Mexico, a disturbing story began to unfold in the spring of 2024. It's a case that touches upon deep-seated issues of violence, vulnerability, and the ongoing crisis of missing and murdered Indigenous persons, but with a focus that often goes underreported: the targeting of Native American men. This is the story, based on publicly available information and court documents, of Labar Tsethlikai, a member of the Zuni Pueblo, and the string of serious allegations against him. Allegations that paint a picture of serial violence spanning nearly 2 years across the state. We'll trace the investigation from an initial murder charge to a sprawling 17-count federal indictment involving at least 11 alleged victims, exploring the timeline, the alleged methods, and the context surrounding this deeply troubling case. It's important to remember throughout that all charges are allegations, and the defendant is presumed innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. The chain of events leading to public awareness began on a frigid winter morning, January 19, 2024. Authorities discovered the body of a Native American man on a remote gravel road within the Zuni Reservation, near Route 7, and approximately 300 yards east of State Highway 602. The victim, later identified in court documents only as John Doe II, a member of the Navajo Nation, was found deceased. Reports described a chilling scene. He was lying on his side with only one sock on, his other clothes gone, and his shoes tossed nearby in the snow. There were trails of blood near his body, and it appeared he had suffered head trauma. Investigators worked to retrace John Doe II's last known movements. He was last seen alive the previous day, January 18th, along East Highway 66 in Gallup, New Mexico, an economic hub bordering the Navajo Nation and Zuni Pueblo. Security camera footage and cell phone records, according to court documents mentioned in news reports, placed him on a collision course with the man who would soon be accused of his murder. On April 25 or 26, 2024, federal authorities announced the initial charge. Labar Tsethlikai, 51 years old and an enrolled member of the Zuni Pueblo, was indicted for the second-degree murder of John Doe II. Tsethlikai made his initial court appearance on April 26, 2024, and was ordered to remain in custody pending a detention hearing and arraignment set for May 1. Crucially, even with this first indictment focusing on John Doe II, authorities made it clear that Tsethlikai was already considered the prime suspect in a much wider series of crimes. The initial announcement linked him to a string of murders, kidnappings, robberies, sexual abuses, and assaults targeting Native American men between May 2023 and April 2024. At that early stage, investigators had already identified 10 other potential victims with alleged crimes occurring in Indian country, involving transport from Indian country to Albuquerque, and within the Albuquerque area itself. The initial murder charge proved to be just the beginning. As the investigation deepened, the allegations against Labar Tsethlikai expanded significantly through 2 subsequent superseding indictments, revealing what prosecutors allege is a horrifying pattern of violence. First, on July 31, 2024, a federal grand jury returned an 11-count superseding indictment. This dramatically increased the severity and scope of the charges against Tsethlikai. It included 2 counts of kidnapping resulting in death, 1 count of first-degree murder, 1 count of first-degree felony murder, 4 counts of kidnapping, 1 count of assault with intent to commit murder, 1 count of assault resulting in serious bodily injury, and 1 count of aggravated sexual abuse. News reports at the time mentioned this indictment involved 6 victims, although victim numbering would be clarified later. Then, on December 18, 2024, federal prosecutors announced a second superseding indictment, further expanding the case. This 17-count indictment added 6 new charges, 5 additional counts of kidnapping, and 1 count of assault with a dangerous weapon, corresponding to 5 additional alleged victims. In total, the December 2024 indictment alleges crimes against 11 victims, identified only as John Does 1 through 11. The alleged offenses span from October 2022 to April 2024. Authorities have stated that all alleged victims identified in the indictments were Native American men. The progression from a single murder charge in April to allegations involving 11 victims and 17 counts by December points towards an investigation that continued to yield significant new evidence after Tsethlikai's arrest. This suggests that either ongoing analysis of existing evidence, such as cell phone data or DNA, linked Tsethlikai to more cases, or perhaps more likely, additional victims or witnesses came forward following the publicity surrounding his arrest and the investigation. The FBI's repeated public calls for information lend support to the idea that community tips may have played a role in identifying these additional alleged incidents and victims. So, who is the man at the center of these allegations? Labar Tsethlikai was 51 years old at the time of his initial arrest in April 2024. He is an enrolled member of the Zuni Pueblo. Authorities provided a physical description: approximately 5 feet 7 inches tall, weighing 180 pounds, heavyset, with short brown hair, brown eyes, and wearing glasses. He was also noted to sometimes wear a gold bracelet. While originally from Zuni, Tsethlikai reportedly traveled extensively around New Mexico, including Gallup, Albuquerque, and Santa Fe areas that feature prominently in the locations of the alleged crimes. Investigators pointed to a common modus operandi, or method of operation, across the alleged crimes. This allegedly involved picking up a male victim, transporting them, engaging in some form of sexual abuse, and then often abandoning them, sometimes without clothing, frequently in remote areas. This description aligns chillingly with the state John Doe 2 was found in, partially clothed and left in a remote area. Authorities explicitly stated Tsethlikai allegedly preyed on vulnerable individuals. Multiple sources quote officials or cite documents stating the targets were often homeless or suffering from addiction. During court proceedings related to detention, Assistant U.S. Attorney Matthew McGinley argued that Tsethlikai preyed on people who were homeless or in need of alcohol so he could satisfy his sexual desires. This suggests a deliberate selection of victims perceived as less likely to report crimes, having fewer resources, or being easier to overpower or coerce, highlighting an intersection of vulnerabilities, including race, poverty, and addiction, potentially exploited in the alleged predatory pattern. The Labar Tsethlikai case doesn't exist in a vacuum. Federal authorities have explicitly linked it to the Department of Justice's Missing or Murdered Indigenous Persons Regional Outreach Program, or MMIP. This program aims to improve the response to the crisis of violence disproportionately affecting Native American and Alaska Native communities, through better coordination and collaboration between federal, tribal, state, and local agencies. New Mexico, sadly, is an epicenter of this crisis. Despite Native Americans constituting a significant portion of the state's population, they experience higher rates of unsolved disappearances and murders relative to other groups. Some reports indicate New Mexico has the highest number of missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls, MMIWG, cases nationally, with cities like Albuquerque and Gallup identified as hotspots. As of late 2024, Labar Tsethlikai remains in federal custody pending trial. He appeared in court in May 2024 and pleaded not guilty to the charges against him at that time. His continued detention was argued by prosecutors on the grounds that no conditions of release could ensure community safety, pointing specifically to the alleged pattern of preying on vulnerable individuals. The court's decision to keep him detained suggests it found the evidence presented regarding this pattern and the potential ongoing danger credible enough to override the presumption of release pending trial, highlighting the perceived severity and risk associated with the allegations early in the proceedings. The investigation, however, is explicitly described as ongoing. The FBI continues to investigate Tsethlikai's potential involvement in crimes against other victims. Authorities have repeatedly appealed to the public for help, urging anyone with information to come forward. If you have reason to believe you or someone you know may be a victim or have information about Tsethlikai, please call the FBI at 505-889-1300 or submit tips online at tips.fbi.gov. This ongoing call suggests authorities believe there may still be unidentified victims or crucial information held by the community. If convicted on the most serious charges, kidnapping resulting in death and first-degree murder, Labar Tsethlikai faces a mandatory sentence of life in prison, or potentially the death penalty. Other charges, such as assault with intent to murder or assault resulting in serious bodily injury, carry potential sentences of up to 20 or 10 years, respectively. This case continues to develop, representing a significant prosecution under the MMIP initiative, and serving as a stark reminder of the violence faced by Indigenous people, both men and women, in New Mexico and beyond. As the legal process moves forward, the pursuit of justice for the 11 named victims, and any others yet unknown, remains paramount.